In this video, I want to have a look at energy efficient housing and then something called BASIX. So a house that's energy efficient makes the most of natural resources, so natural light and natural heating and cooling, in order to reduce the amount of electricity and gas that needs to be used. If we're looking at designing an energy efficient house, there's lots of different things we need to consider. So let's go through a few of them. So the first one is the orientation of the house or the building. So if we have all our living areas facing north and lots of windows in that north facing wall, that means that in winter we're going to get the sun into the house and it's going to warm it up naturally, so we don't have to have the heaters on as much. The second one is insulation. So if we have insulation in the roof, and some places have them in the walls as well, it means that it's going to help the house maintain its heat, and in summer it'll help keep it cool. So it maintains that heat again, so we don't have to use artificial heating and cooling. The next one is windows and skylights. So if we have north-facing windows or we have skylights in the roof, that means that we don't need to turn lights on as often because we've got that natural light coming into the house. The next one is ventilation. So if we can have cross ventilation in the house, it means it's easier for the breeze or the wind to cool down the house naturally without having to turn on fans. And the last one is landscaping and shading. So if we plant trees or plants to shade the windows and walls in summer, that means that it's going to help to keep the house cool. Now the government wants to encourage energy efficient housing and to start regulating it. So the way it's doing that is through something called BASIX, which is the Building and Sustainability Index. So you can read about it in lots of detail at this website here. But essentially BASIX was introduced in 2004 to reduce water and energy consumption across New South Wales. So BASIX sets targets and it falls into three basic categories. It falls into water, energy and thermal comfort of the house or building that's being designed. Now what those targets are exactly depends on what area of New South Wales that you're in. So if you go to this BASIX website, you can have a look at maps for the water and energy targets depending on the region that you're building in. So when the BASIX assessments are done, they look at a number of different things. So water consumption and savings, they're going to assess that based on the landscaping, the fittings and fixtures you have, so that's things like energy efficient shower heads, alternative water sources, so things like water tanks, any pools or outdoor spas and how much water they use up, other energy uses, and central systems and common areas. When they're assessing your energy consumption, they're going to be looking at things like your hot water systems, your heating and cooling systems, whether that's fan, whether it's air conditioning, gas or electricity. It's going to be looking at ventilation, like we said earlier in the video, that natural ventilation means you don't have to look at artificial sources of energy. It's going to look at your lighting, if you've got pools or spas that are using your energy. Alternative energy sources, so again that might be that you have solar panels on your roof, other energy uses and central systems. Now the thermal comfort assessment is a little bit different to the water and the energy. Those two you get ratings. This one's more of a pass-fail sort of situation. So they encourage you to choose a design that's appropriate to the climate that the dwelling will be located in. So this is a lot of the things that we were talking about right at the start when we were talking about designing an energy efficient home. So you're looking at orientation, windows, ventilation, insulation, thermal mass and shading. The one thing on that BASIX website that's really interesting to have a look at is this sort of ideal BASIX house. And it lists a whole pile of different things that it's got on there. So it's got things like a gas boosted solar hot water system. It's got a rainwater tank there that's connected to the toilets in the garden. It's got insulation, it's got floor insulation, it's got wall insulation, and I'm sure it's got roof insulation written somewhere, ceiling insulation written there. It's got native vegetation, it's got shade on the windows, it's got all those things that we talked about before. So that's having a look at energy efficient housing and how the government has introduced BASIX to try and encourage that.